I hear you well. I see you well. I'm ready.
That's great. We hear you well as well. So start whenever you want.
Cool. Then let's start right now. Good evening, folks. So great to speak for your community. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for having me on your event this beautiful evening in Europe. But I believe we can have folks from multiple time zones. Let's talk about what we as front-end developers, if we put front-end developers hats, if there are front-end developers among you, I believe there are plenty of. So what can we have from awesomeness of cloud services? How can we benefit by using cloud in terms of simplifying our lives and maybe improving our projects both in terms of developer experience and customer experience? And we'll take one particular cloud as an example called Azure. Let me start sharing my screen and guiding you through this journey. Okay, so I believe you see my screen shared of all unneeded pieces. Briefly about me. I'm Maxim Salnikov. I work in Microsoft Norway. I do developer engagement in country of Norway. That means I always on the front line in front of technical folks, developers, DevOps engineers, data engineers, and I love to have conversations with them about technologies, about how can we help to make their lives easier. You can reach out to me on Twitter. Maybe this is the simplest way to connect me. WebMaxRU. My direct messages are open. I'm always keen on hearing from you. And I'm a big fan of developer communities myself. I run multiple meetups in Oslo, where I live. I run 2 full-scale conferences called NG Vikings for Angular developers and Mobile Era for mobile developers. And you can always invite me to speak at your event or conference or meetup anytime. Now with this remote and online delivery, this is even simpler. But before COVID, I traveled very actively around the world to speak, to present mainly about progressive web apps. But today we'll combine all the stories, web development and cloud. So this is our URL for today, and it's publicly available and open and will stay forever. So if you open this URL, you'll see something like this. This is our playground for today. I don't have any slides. I want to run technical demo. I want to... Yes, for folks, I hear some sounds. Could you please mute yourself if that's possible? Thanks. Yeah, this is our playground, and let's just show the service from Azure called Azure Static Web Apps in action. But first, let's try to understand what do we want to achieve from using this service. We as web front-end developers, we are developers, we write the code, right? So we write JavaScript, of course we always deal with HTML and CSS also. So we write the code, we push this code to some code repository. In our case, this will be GitHub. In order to use this service, you have to host your code on GitHub. And that's pretty much it. We don't want to dive too deep into what's happening next with our code, how we receive ready to be served project out of it. Literally, we did some change. We created new version of the application, commit, push, and we want to see this in action on our production server, or maybe first on staging server. And what's in between, we want to outsource to someone else, to Azure Static Web Apps service in this case. let's start from the demo. And basically, our today's application is exactly this one. So this is just a couple of page app, single page application built in Angular. And I use Angular just for, let's say, historical reasons. I mainly work with this framework. But of course, this Azure Static Web Apps service is not somehow limited to Angular. It's friendly to absolutely any single page application framework, to any static site generators framework, or to completely custom ways to build your application. Let's say, as long as you have build command or any other command which builds your application in package JSON, it's good to go. Okay, so I have this app. I call this SWA, Static Web Apps -Angular. And if we build it locally, this will look something like npm run build. And then in case of Angular CLI will take control. In case of React Webpack will take control. And after all, you will receive somewhere in on your local machine a folder called dist or build, depending on the framework, with some output, some index HTML, some JavaScript bundle, some CSS bundle you might want to deploy somewhere, put on some remote servers for your visitors, for your customers, for your clients to see your beautiful application. So yes, you see it's built now. And we just want to outsource this. We want to ask Azure to do all this for us just after we hit push command or we accepted pull request. Let's connect this repo and Azure Static Web Apps service, or maybe for simplicity, I will call this just SWA. How to start? First, it all starts with Azure Portal. I have it's open in this browser. This is, you see, it's a canary version of Microsoft Edge. To some extent, I live on the edge with this developer version of the browser. Anyway, if you worked with Azure already, this might look familiar. This is like online dashboard where you create services, where you manage services. If you are completely new to Azure, you can just go to Azure Microsoft.com/free, and you will receive a trial account for some dollars, $200. To use it for 12 months, plus even after this 1 year, you'll have 25 plus services always available for free for you. But this particular service called Static Web Apps, you will not spend a penny on this, even if you have like a credit card attached to your Azure account and like you use Azure for some other workloads. Why? Because currently it's in preview, so also somehow living on the edge. But currently it's quite stable. I don't remember any serious changes or interruptions with it, so feel free to use this, to at least experiment with this. So let's start. We click create. And here we have to provide some details. Subscription and resource group, this is what you always have to provide when you create a new service. This is, let's say, a way to group your workloads for Azure, workloads of different types. Like, for example, you could have here also storage or maybe even virtual machine or something else. So it's good to group it. Let's give a name. Let's call this SWA test. Region is not that important currently for us. It's free, so you see it's in preview, so no extra spendings. And here you connect your Azure account with GitHub. And for SWA, GitHub is the only source code repository which is supported. I believe I was already logged in, so for me this is just a question to click continue button, but most likely you'll be offered to enter your GitHub credentials. Then you basically pick organization. I have multiple. You pick exact repo. called SW Angular in my case. It's a handy search bar here, and branch. Let's use branch called main. Almost done, almost done. We just have to provide a bit extra context about application itself. And as I mentioned, this service is friendly with any front-end application you can ever imagine. So again, if you are able to build it on your local machine, that means that 99% Microsoft Azure will build it on their cloud if you explain how to do this. And here we have some handy presets for the next piece of configuration we need to provide. In my case, I will pick Angular, but please don't think that this is all full list of what's supported. No, no, no. These are just, let's say, handy presets for us. In case of Angular, application, this is where the source code located in GitHub repo. In many cases, this is just a root folder, but if it's mono repo, maybe it lives in some internal folder. This is location for your API. I believe today we skip this part of the story just to save some time. And this is very important one, app artifact location. This is where actually you have output of your framework, where your framework exactly builds the files. And in case of Angular, this is not just dist, this is dist plus the project name. Something like this in our case. For React, I believe this will be something like build, actually the folder where your framework or your custom framework outputs the files. That's pretty much it. We can click review plus create. It will be fast. And I think we are ready. Let's just create this. We started to create this resource, and it will also take only a few seconds. It's quite fast service at this stage. Deployment is in progress. Bam, ready. And we just go to freshly created resource. What do we have here? And deployment succeeded. That's really good to know. On the left-hand side, all standard information about resource, like subscription, like location, like resource group. Here is what we really are interested in. First, we immediately got some temporary URL for debugging, and it's sometimes you have hilarious ones. So this is just a random combination of two words, agreeable island in our case, really nonsense combination of words, plus some hash string. If we open this resource, what do we see? We see that the hostname is here, but our Azure Static Web App is waiting for your content. Why is it like this? Where is our beautiful application, which should look something like that? It will come. It will come in a few minutes because what's happening right now is building. So it's exactly the same procedure like after you typed npm run build. Exactly the same is happening on your GitHub account now in the section called actions, and you see it's here. We can, yeah, I have multiple processes running, and it's after my previous experiments with this repo. Of course, only one of them is relevant to what we expect now. If we click here, we'll see all the details. So what's happening? Actually, the full build flow. And you see, we got to the point when Angular CLI started its job on building distribution set. But before that, while we tested this host name, before that, what happened? GitHub Actions recreated full environment. So literally a spinned up virtual machine with Linux, with version of Node.js installed, then it installed the repo, then it installed all packaged, and only then it ran npm run build command. Of course, this is why it takes a few minutes. So you see like 2 minutes 40 seconds so far, but we are on the latest stage of this process, and in just a few seconds we will see some green line if you're on proper no, it's in proper part of all these actions, and definitely one of them will have green check mark, relevant one, not from the previous experience. Meanwhile, while these three are building, let's have a look at another piece of this flow. To explain GitHub how to exactly build the application, when we connected GitHub repo to this Azure Static Web Apps resource, the file called Azure Static Web Apps and the name of our host name YAML was created in the folder. Let me show this file. Yes, it's here, and let me zoom in. So this GitHub Actions workflow file was created. Do you have to do you have to immediately go and learn the format of GitHub Actions workflow file? Not really. So if you're just interested in having application up and running and you are good with all default options, that's completely good for now. You just know that it exists, and you can fine-tune some parameters, fine-tune some configuration when needed. That's fine. And by the way, you see here exactly in this file, these pieces of configuration we provided while created this resource. So if we need to do some updates, we just go here. Also here we can provide some custom options. For example, if we have completely custom command for building, it's not npm run build, but something else, we can also specify it here, just using another property. Okay, let's go back to this actions. Yes, this is actually one we need, and don't pay any attention to the failed ones. It's just from previous runs of this session. And we sure that everything happened good, maybe like some warnings, but after all, there should be a green, nice message, deployment complete, and then we can go back to this website, and now we are sure that it's here. Cool. Well, that works, and that works fine, but you can think it's a bit like a toy, right? It's for, let's say, some simple projects when you push your code straight to the main branch, and you are good with immediate deployment this to your production environment. Can we make this flow a bit more flexible? Yes, we can. And it's also super simple for us, and all complexity is hidden under the hood. What we do, we just create, if we go to this repo, and let's edit it straight in the browser. That's also possible. We have to switch to our branch main. Yeah, for saving some time, we'll not run the full demo of this feature. Let's give the title another value test2. Title updated. We create commit to some new branch. Let's keep this default name, propose changes. And we create pull request. Now we have this pull request open, and you will see that some actions immediately started. Why? Because in the same file that we reviewed before, GitHub Actions workflow file, there was another hook for start building. So all build and deployment flows start when we not just commit and push code to the main branch, but also when we create pull request, and it creates a new environment. If we go back to our test portal, you see there is a section called environments. And currently there is only one, which is connected to our main branch, and corresponding, let's say, master or production environment of our website. After this build succeed, the one is happening right now, we will have staging environment ready for us with the separate host name, so we don't have to take some extra actions. And this host name will look like similar to this, but with some extra piece with some random number. Why? We can test how this application looks before switching this to production environment. Maybe we can run some end-to-end tests on this and just review, are we happy or not? Then if we accept this pull request, if we merge it, this staging environment will be automatically swapped with production. If we reject this pull request, this stage requirement will be just deleted, again with zero actions from our side as developers. Let's maybe in the during 2 minutes we have left, this build process will finish. If yes, then I will show you this environment. But meanwhile, let me super briefly guide you through all other cool features we have here. Of course, most likely you don't want to go to production with a host name like this. So you can easily connect your custom domain. Also, maybe in most cases, your front-end application is connected to some backend APIs. And if you want to create your API in JavaScript or TypeScript or C# or Python, you have a helper from SWA service on that part also. So you have handy tools to create and run and scale your serverless APIs attached to this front-end app. Plus, it contains good helpers for you to authenticate people. And literally, you write almost zero code needed to authenticate your visitors via some popular identity services like Microsoft Azure Active Directory, Twitter, Facebook, and GitHub. I believe this is full list for now. You will have just super handy tools on login, logout of people, and to manage their roles if you want to have role-based systems on your front-end applications. And from your front-end code, you just trigger an internal URL to understand all the information about current user. Are they authenticated, their login, and their role. I believe these are the core features. Let me have a look. Yes, title update. One is here, and let me just validate that we have, where is our portal? Let's refresh our environments. Yes, you see we have environment here, and if we open this, you see this is a new hostname and a new title from our pull request. Great. To wrap up, Azure Static Web Apps is a service from Azure, relatively new. It was introduced this summer to simplify life of web front-end developers, to let them all the tools needed to have their code deployed. And by the way, it's deployed to globally distributed infrastructure. So it's on multiple servers in multiple regions. Plus, it takes care CI/CD flow and gives proper and convenient handlers for you to authenticate users. That's it from me. Thank you very much. I stop sharing.
Thank you, Maxim. That was very clear. I'm sure everyone found that very interesting. And I was just wondering if it supports other things such as GitHub or other platforms like Azure DevOps.
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
If it supports other platforms such as Azure DevOps.
It's using GitHub Actions under the hood for CI/CD flow, and let's say whatever you can achieve in GitHub Actions workflow file, then it's good to go. So GitHub Actions is quite powerful CI/CD tool, and if you need to create completely custom build script, it's possible. Just use this workflow file.
Perfect. Okay. So thank you for everything.